The teasers dropped, the fandom went silent. In an instant, the entire K-pop world was turned upside down. The biggest group in the world just said no to the biggest music award show on Earth, and now the rest of the industry is caught in the crossfire. Join Eric and Minji as they ride the Hallyu wave, uncovering the biggest K-pop comebacks, shocking industry controversies, and major K-drama updates. From internet-breaking rumors to historic chart milestones, we dive deep into the world of Korean entertainment.
We are definitely diving into some pretty deep and incredibly turbulent waters today.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've been anywhere near the K-pop internet recently, you have absolutely felt the seismic shift.
Oh, 100%. So our mission today for this deep dive is unpacking a massive industry-shaking fallout. We're looking at BTS officially boycotting the 2027 Grammy Awards over their brand new Best Asian Pop Music Performance category.
Right, and it really doesn't stop there.
No, it doesn't. We're also exploring how that historic rebellion basically created a shockwave that slammed right into Stray Kids during their highly anticipated comeback press tour.
Yeah, it's this messy collision of, Western validation, intense fandom pride, and just fierce domestic backlash from Korean netizens.
It is the defining story of the global pop music scene right now. A historic rebellion that shook the global music industry. BTS pulling their highly anticipated album from the 69th Grammys.
It's not just a headline, It's a structural challenge to the entire Western music establishment. But to understand why this happened, we really have to look at the factual background of what the Recording Academy actually did back in June of 2026.
Because on the surface, I can totally see how a casual observer might think this was like a positive step. You hear new category and you think, oh, great, more representation for Asian artists.
Exactly.
But anyone who deeply follows the Hallyu wave, the stans, the industry analysts, they saw the trap immediately.
Yeah, they did. So the Recording Academy announced the creation of this Best Asian Pop Music Performance category,
Right.
claiming it was a measure to enhance inclusiveness, right?
Sure.
They said they wanted to recognize the global impact of K-pop, J-pop, and C-pop. But the controversy is all in the fine print. To be eligible for this specific award, a track requires what the Academy calls meaningful use of an Asian language.
Which fundamentally shifts the judging criteria from musical quality to linguistics. I mean, in an era where global collaborations are literally the baseline of pop music, that feels wildly regressive.
Completely.
You're essentially telling artists that their genre is dictated by their dictionary, not their sound.
Precisely. Because under these rules, songs with only incidental Asian words, like maybe an ad-lib or a brief phrase,
Or a rap break or something.
right, or songs performed entirely in English by Asian artists, they are strictly not eligible for this new Asian pop category. They would have to be submitted in the general field or standard pop categories.
Wow.
So critics immediately pointed out the flaw here. If you are an artist with a multilingual album or an English-heavy album, where do you belong?
And more importantly, why is language the defining factor for segregation? Like, if a Western pop star releases a massive song with a verse in Spanish, they don't suddenly get booted out of the Best Pop Vocal Performance category.
Nope, they definitely don't.
They're still treated as mainstream pop artists. Using language to fence off Asian artists just feels like this extreme, Western-centric paradigm designed to protect the main categories from global competition.
That structural frustration is exactly what led to July 29, 2026, the main event.
The moment the internet essentially broke,
Oh, yeah.
all 7 BTS members posted a coordinated statement on their Instagram stories.
Simultaneous posts across all 7 accounts.
It was chilling to watch in real time. They announced they were officially withdrawing their massive reunion album, Arirang, from Grammy consideration. And they didn't mince words.
Not at all.
Their stance was crystal clear. They said, "We hope music can be heard and loved as music itself, rather than being categorized by region or language."
And HYBE immediately followed up with an official statement backing them up. They stated this decision was made to protect the status and pride of the K-pop industry as a whole.
Which is a huge statement.
It is. But interestingly, they made a point to clarify that this isn't a company-wide boycott. Other HYBE artists can still submit if they want to. But for BTS, the line was firmly drawn.
Yeah.
And you really have to look at the sheer scale of the success BTS is experiencing right now to understand the leverage they hold here. I mean, their Arirang World Tour is an 85-date global phenomenon.
Completely sold out stadiums everywhere. They are operating at the absolute pinnacle of live entertainment.
And here is the profound irony of the Grammys' new language criteria. 80% of the Arirang album is in English.
Wait, really? 80%?
Yes, so the biggest hits from the biggest group in the world wouldn't even qualify for the Academy's brand new Asian pop category anyway.
That is just, I mean, it exposes the exact fear among industry analysts. By creating this specific category, the Recording Academy essentially built a segregated zone. The fear is that Grammy voters, who have historically been super slow to embrace non-Western acts in the general field, will see this new category and, like, consciously or unconsciously use it as an excuse to exclude Asian artists from the big awards, like Album of the Year.
Right, they might think, well, they have their own category now, I'll just vote for them there.
It basically feels like being invited to a prestigious dinner party, dressing up in your absolute best visuals, and then being pointed toward a folding table in the hallway while the Western artists dine in the main room.
That is such a good analogy.
Are you technically in the building? Sure. But is it actually a seat at the table? Absolutely not. That is exactly how armies are interpreting this, and honestly, the vindication running through that fandom right now is palpable.
Oh, for sure.
For years, we watched BTS perform at the Grammys, literally carry the television ratings for the entire broadcast, get nominated for Best Pop Duo Group Performance, and go home empty-handed. Remember that GQ interview where RM even hinted they didn't desperately want the Grammys anymore?
Yeah, it's a definitive rejection of the glass ceiling. And we should note, this isn't without precedent in the broader music industry. We saw The Weeknd do something very similar in 2020.
Right, when he was completely shut out.
Yeah, his massive hits were ignored, and he boycotted, calling out the closed-door nature of the voting committees. Frank Ocean has withheld music. Drake has called him out for sidelining black artistry into rap or urban categories.
Right.
But what makes this moment historic is that BTS is dealing the most significant public challenge to the Recording Academy's structure by a non-Western act in history.
Naturally, the Recording Academy had to do damage control. Grammy CEO Harvey Jr. came out and stated he was saddened by the news, reiterating that the category was meant to enhance inclusiveness, not to segregate.
Right.
But again, you have to look at the mechanics, not just the intent. When you build a separate room based on geography and language, you are segregating the art.
It really forces us to ask a heavy question about what the true meaning of regional diversity actually is. Is it giving people a separate trophy, or allowing them to compete equally for the main prize?
Exactly. But wait till you hear how another top-tier group got dragged into this exact Grammy drama just days later. The netizens did not hold back. If you love staying updated on your favorites and want to ride the Halley wave with us, hit that subscribe button to StarScope K-Report so you never miss a KT update.
Because as you know, in the K-pop industry, no group exists in a vacuum. When the titans clash, the shockwaves hit everyone else.
Yep.
You can't just throw a grenade at the biggest music institution in the world and not expect the shrapnel to hit your peers.
Which brings us to our next bold headline. Stray Kids This and That press conference turning into a Grammy interrogation.
Oh my gosh, I felt physically uncomfortable for them watching this unfold. Here's a group just trying to celebrate their hard work, and their entire moment is hijacked. The timing was incredibly unfortunate. On August 6th at the Conrad Seoul, Stray Kids held a major press conference. This was for the release of their 10th EP, This and That, coming 9 months after You Unveiled track.
And in the K-pop timeline, 9 months is a huge gap. This is a massive, highly anticipated comeback.
It is. But instead of the media focusing on the music, or the choreography, or the concept, the reporters zeroed in on the controversy of the week. They directly asked the members about the new Grammy category and the BTS boycott.
Talk about an impossible situation. I mean, if they agree with BTS, they risk alienating Western voters and industry connections. But if they express any desire for a Grammy, they look like they are betraying the pride of the Korean industry.
They were forced to walk an incredibly thin tightrope. But the members took a highly diplomatic route. Seungmin took the microphone and stated, quote, "When we make music, we focus less on how others see us and more on what comes from within us. We want to tell our own stories."
Beautifully said.
He stressed that they aren't swayed by changes in internal criteria at award shows.
And Hyunjin echoed that sentiment perfectly. He added that they have never made music with any record or goal in mind. He said their top priority is simply making fans happy and satisfied.
Right.
Meanwhile, JYP Entertainment officially declined to comment on their actual submission plans.
From a public relations standpoint, it was a textbook graceful evasion. But, in the highly charged world of K-pop fandoms, diplomacy is often translated as weakness.
Oh, absolutely. The domestic Korean netizens, the K-nets, and international fans clashed instantly online. I was reading these viral reactions on the forums, and the anger was visceral.
Yeah, it got intense.
You had domestic users calling them spineless Western validation hungry losers. People were accusing Stray Kids of beating around the bush just because they allegedly won a Grammy nomination, no matter how segregated the new category is. The implication was that by not actively boycotting, they were selling out their heritage.
The backlash was immediate and highly polarized. But if we pull back and look at the raw logistical data, the deep irony of this entire interrogation is that this and that wouldn't even be eligible for the Grammys anyway.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah, if we look at the calendar.
Oh, you're right. Music critic Lim Hyun pointed out that the Grammy cutoff window for submissions actually closed on August 21st. And this, in fact, that was released right at the beginning of August.
Exactly. It's a completely unviable timeline for a proper Grammy campaign.
Yeah.
You don't drop an EP 2 weeks before a cutoff date if your goal is Western award validation.
Right.
Furthermore, Stray Kids are already dominating where it actually makes sense for their current promotional cycle. If you want to see where their momentum truly lies, look at the Music Awards Japan 2026 coming up in June.
Oh, they are absolutely going for an all-kill at those awards. They're sweeping the nominations. Artist of the Year, Album of the Year for 3 separate projects, Hollow, Mixtape, Dominate, and Karma, plus Best Anime Song for Reawaker featuring Lisa and Felix.
Yeah.
They are operating at the absolute top tier of the Asian market right now.
They are, which makes the media's fixation on their Grammy ambitions feel incredibly forced.
This is exactly where I have to push back against the harsh netizen reaction. Like, is it fair to force every single K-pop group to inherit BTS's boycott?
That's a good question.
Look, I completely understand the pride in BTS taking a stand. It's monumental. But think about it like this. If a senior student protests the school principal's unfair rules and dramatically walks out of the assembly, does every underclassman have to walk out too? Or are they allowed to just keep their heads down and focus on passing their own final exams?
That's an excellent framing. Stray Kids are simply in a different phase of their career trajectory than BTS. BTS has spent years playing the Grammy game, so they have earned the capital to flip the board. Stray Kids are still building their global stadium infrastructure.
Exactly. Why should Stray Kids be called hypocrites just for wanting to focus on their own comeback and their own fandom? They've worked for 9 months on this EP. To have their entire press cycle derailed by another group's political battle is exhausting. They just want to perform for stays.
And frankly, the fans had much bigger things to worry about that day anyway.
And that wasn't even the only bombshell dropped at the press conference. Coming up, we'll talk about the sudden update that has the fandom in absolute tears. Make sure you subscribe to StarScope K-Report. We've got an emotional breakdown of this group's future coming right up.
Because while the international media was entirely focused on the Grammy drama, domestic fans were hit with a much more emotional reality check during that exact same press conference.
Yeah.
The noise from the West is loud, but for a K-pop stan, the biggest anxiety is internal. It's about time, and it's about national duty.
We have to talk about the bittersweet reality that every single boy group fandom eventually faces, the dreaded E word, military enlistment.
During the promotions for this and that, the topic shifted from global awards to mandatory service. Lee No, who is the oldest Korean member of the group at 27, directly addressed his impending military enlistment.
Which is such a heavy, sobering thing to talk about when you're supposed to be hyping up a highly energetic visual comeback.
It shifts the atmosphere entirely.
Oh.
But he faced it head on. He told the press, quote, "I believe fulfilling the duty of national defense is natural. If I am called upon, I will faithfully carry out my assigned duties. What is certain is that we will all come back together."
We will all come back together. I mean, that specific phrase is the lifeline that every stan clings to when the enlistment era begins.
It really is. So let's break down the factual parameters of what they're facing, because the 18-month clock is something every fan knows all too well. In South Korea, all able-bodied men are required to complete between 18 to 21 months of military service, depending on the branch they serve in. Stray Kids debuted back in 2018, so they've been together for over 8 years now. The timeline is catching up to the older members. It is worth noting, however, that Bang Chan and Felix hold Australian citizenship, so they are entirely exempt from this requirement.
But for a group that relies so heavily on their specific 8-member dynamic, their intricate high-energy choreography and their self-producing Unit 3 RACHA, Losing even one member changes the entire alchemy of the group.
It does.
The stays were going through it online. I saw tweets that were just pure heartbreak. One fan tweeted, "Just shoot me, it will hurt less." Another said, "Our stray kids will always be 8." The emotional weight of the impending hiatus is incredibly real.
You see this cycle repeat with every major group in the industry.
Yeah.
The anxiety of the military hiatus is a defining, unavoidable characteristic of K-pop fandom culture.
If you've ever waited for your absolute favorite K-drama to come back from a hiatus, you know a fraction of this feeling. It's like an excruciatingly long mid-season break. You know the cast is coming back, the writers promise a season 2, but that waiting period feels agonizing.
Yeah, it's brutal.
You worry you'll lose interest, or the show will lose its magic, or the landscape will change while they're gone. But looking at the modern industry, I have to challenge the doom and gloom a bit. Haven't we moved past the era where enlistment is an automatic career death sentence?
That's a fair point.
I mean, we literally just saw BTS successfully navigate this exact hiatus. They all went in, they did their time, and they just returned with the massive global airing tour. Has the hiatus curse been broken?
That is a fascinating evolution to track. 10 years ago, during the second and early third generations of K-pop, a military hiatus was often seen as a career killer.
Right, because the market moves so fast.
Exactly. The domestic market moves so quickly that if your group stepped away for 2 years, 3 new rookie groups had already debuted and taken your spot. But the landscape has fundamentally changed on a global scale. Fandoms like ARMY and STAY are deeply organized, highly international, and fiercely loyal.
And the entertainment companies have gotten so much smarter about managing the timeline.
Precisely. The agencies now pre-record immense amounts of content before the idols enlist. They bank music videos, reality shows, solo projects, and photo books, so the fans are constantly fed even while the members are actively serving.
Right. We get a new pre-recorded vlog every month from someone in the trenches. It keeps the parasocial relationship entirely intact.
So while the emotional toll on the fans is very real, the structural threat to the group's career is much lower today than it was a decade ago, provided the agency manages the transition well. Lino's promise that they will come back together is backed by the modern industry standard. They have the global infrastructure to survive the gap.
It's about surviving the wait. Just like they survived the brutal training periods and the exhausting comeback schedules, K-pop is nothing if not resilient.
Resilient, but also currently at a state of high tension with the Western establishment. Which brings us back to where we started today, the boycott.
Yeah. We spent a lot of time analyzing the grand philosophical reasons behind BTS's boycott, the mechanical flaws of the new Grammy category, and the intense pressure it put on groups like Stray Kids. But there's one final, incredibly chilling detail from the sources that we haven't discussed yet.
A detail that shows just how personal and vindictive this industry clash has actually become.
When I read this in the notes, my jaw genuinely dropped.
Following BTS's coordinated boycott announcement on July 29th, the Grammys quietly went into their official website and completely removed live recordings of BTS's past performances.
Just deleted them, erased them from the digital archive entirely.
Yep.
I mean, this is a group that gave the Grammy broadcast some of its highest viewership numbers in years. They drove massive engagement to the Academy's platforms, and the second they challenged the system, their history is scrubbed.
It raises a profound question for all of us looking at this industry. We like to think of these legacy institutions as objective arbiters of musical excellence, preserving the history of the art form, right?
Right.
But when a global powerhouse like BTS challenges the structure, when they refuse to sit at the kids' table, to use your analogy, the establishment doesn't just disagree respectfully, they retaliate.
It's so unbelievably petty. It feels like a scorned ex deleting photos off their timeline, not a professional recording academy.
So I leave you, the listener, with this thought to mull over. As the Hallyu wave continues to expand, dominating global charts and selling out stadiums on every continent, what does this surprisingly petty retaliation mean for the future relationship between the Western music establishment and K-pop? Will the Academy eventually realize they need to build a bigger table to stay relevant? Or will they just keep deleting the evidence that the rest of the world is moving on without them?
You've been listening to StarScope K-Report, where Eric and Minji bring you the stories shaping K-pop, K-dramas, and the global Hallyu wave. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.